Buzz Lightyear to Star Command. No time to lose. Let's get busy. Lightyear out.
Greetings, I'm Solidus-Skully, and welcome back to Patrick Warburton of Star Command. Now, on a serious note, welcome back to Buzz Lightyear of Star Command. I'm Solidus-Skully, and yeah, on that little jokey tangent, yes indeed, Buzz Lightyear in this game is in fact voiced by Patrick Warburton in all his Joe Swanson glory. It's kinda difficult not to hear that voice when you hear him, but yeah, they didn't get Tim Allen back for any of this. I think they might have gotten him back for the pilot movie, but that's kind of about it for the series, really. Anyway, in terms of what we're doing right here and now, we're pretty much just doing the time trial mode for Canis Lunis, and part of the reason to do that, or at least part of the reason why I am doing this, is so I can show off some of the alternate level pathways, because Traveler's Tales are a very wily bunch. Again, they knew that these levels were linear, but they did add little forks in the pathway so that you can either, you know, gain a little bit more ground in terms of the race if you master the course, or just, you know, find a few hidden goodies for your efforts. So, yeah, sometimes you'll get faster pathways for time trials, other times you'll find little nooks and crannies for, you know, hidden weapons that you can access, and, you know, power-ups, shields, all that kind of thing, so yeah, it is well worth your time to go out of your way to sort of pick up these little dealios out in order to help with the flow of battle. It's just that, yeah, sometimes it can cost you a bit of time, or, in turn, a bit of ground in terms of chasing down the bad guys. So, again, do you either risk it for the power-ups, or do you make sure that you get to the end of the level and have Mira soften up the bad guy before you take him down? Nobody knows but you, Buzz Lightyear, Star Command, and I can't do a good Patrick Warburton voice, or Tim Allen, apart from the thing from Home Improvement. Whatever. Anyway, one thing I didn't really comment on last time is the music of Canis Lunis, and by extension the soundtrack of the entire game, because I don't think I really noticed it when I was a kid, but holy crap, man, like, the soundtrack of Buzz Lightyear of Star Command as a game is really fucking good. Like, again, it fits well within, you know, the sort of Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger heroic thematics, but at the same time, it's also got a lot of, you know, unique level themes that really fit the aesthetic. Like, I mean, again, with Canis Lunis, you have the whole sort of mysterious horror vibe going on with the soundtrack, but again, everything just fits rather nicely, so yeah, the game's soundtrack gets a real pass from me. And now we have ended the time trial, and part of the reason why I want to haul ass is because if you get a best time, then you also access a second medal, which is quite good because it means you can access more of the game and play more of the game.
Today's assignment, should you choose to accept it, and you have no choice in the matter, is to track down a villain named Marl.
Well, thank you for telling us anything about Marl that could have been interesting. Anyway, unrelated clip of a thing here that tells us nothing. Yep, completely unrelated, was absolutely fucking pointless. Ugh, jeez.
Stop in the name of the Galactic Alliance.
I don't think so, Ranger.
So I suppose now you pretty much get the idea as to what a lot of these levels entail. Again, you'll pretty much have Buzz Lightyear going, stop in the name of justice, and then they go, fuck you, and run away. So now you pretty much just chase them down to the end of the level, and beat the crap out of them. So I suppose now that we've got our basics out of the way, let's get into some of the nitty-gritty details about what these levels, and in turn some of the gameplay really has to offer for us, because something that you might be noticing, at least a particular difference between KARN and a lot of other levels in the game. First of all, one little bullshit thing, the bad guy doesn't stop when Booster does this whole cannonball thing. So, yeah, that's a bit balls, even though the rest of the timer and everything else usually stops, the villain doesn't? But anyway, like, I mean, again, you see little areas like this where the space opens up a little bit more. Again, you can pretty much explore around these environments for a few hidden weapons here and there, but apart from that, you're not really going to be seeing too much of anything, really, which, yeah, it does kind of conflict with the design a little bit in terms of having a linearity get to the end of the stage before your, you know, enemy does. You don't really have a lot of time to look around and smell the roses, and while there might be, like, a hidden weapon here and there that might be able to help in terms of, like, some of the ending missions, it also doesn't really give you much of a chance or an incentive to really explore, apart from, you know, maybe one or two things that you'll probably get in the end arena anyway, because again, Traveler's Tales being competent enough developers as they were, they did know that, again, you will have to pick up some weapons so you can damage the boss towards the end, you know, that corresponds to the color of the sphere. But by that same token, however, it does also cost galactic credits, which in and of themselves, again, Traveler's Tales also account for that, because whenever you damage the boss inside the boss arena, they also drop, 5 galactic credits, so pick those up, pick up a new weapon, and use that to damage the boss. So, again, it's not... Again, it's not as if they didn't think about it, it's just that I feel like some aspects of the design don't really lend itself towards some of the aspects that Traveler's Tales really wanted the player to use them for. Like, I mean, again, you've got the bombs, you've got, the villain reaching the getaway spot with only 15 seconds to catch up with them. But at the same time, you also have areas like this, which also have a bunch of enemies to take out, or a bunch of, weapons and shields to collect. But likewise, you don't really get much of an incentive to really explore. Granted, they could have put the LGMs in some of these hidden locations, so you sort of have to balance, hauling ass and getting there on time with, also locating the LGMs for the sake of getting a medal, but again, a lot of the LGMs, and again, I suppose this could either be to the player's benefit or to its detriment, in the sense that they're pretty much in your pathway, so again, you're not really going to miss them, but at the same time, it also doesn't incentivize some of the more open-ended areas and little nooks and crannies that you can explore and, pick up a bunch of new things, really, so... Yeah, it's sort of a half-assed complexity to the design, where, I mean, there is complexity to be found, it's just that there's not really too much that the game incentivizes to, make you want to explore, for the lack of a better phrase.
Give it up, Marl.
Sorry, no can do.
You know, it sounds like the entire voice direction for this guy was pretty much just sound like a bug alien. What does a bug alien sound like?
Bleh, I'm an alien.
Good, excellent, roll with it. To infinity and... Bleh. But anyway, that's what I was talking about. Again, they leave you one of those little purple guns that you can use to drain the shield energy of Marl over there. And, yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, you already have the green laser by default, so there's that. And I suppose that does also sort of act as a bit of an incentive to get a sort of large chance to catch up with the galactic credits threshold so you can get a medal, but... Yeah, now we're also getting into the second facet of, one of this game's drawbacks. Namely, the lack of a lock-on mechanic, and you might be thinking, golly gee, Mr. Solidus-Skully, you sexy hunk of Star Command valor. Yeah, lock-on wasn't really a common thing back then, except that it was, even as far back as 1997, because you want to know what games were already released by the time of Buzz Lightyear of Star Command in the year 2000? Well, I mean, some hit titles, such as including, I don't know, Crash Bandicoot 3, which had the Wumpa Bazooka that you could, utilize with aiming and whatever. You also had Zelda Ocarina of Time, you also had Mega Man Legends, which came out before all of those games. So yeah, you have no real aiming reticle, you also have no lock-on target, which, again, the PlayStation was easily capable of, so... quite frankly, it does make, the running and shooting mechanics feel a lot more archaic than in fact they should be. In fact, the fact that this game is pretty much 3 years behind the times in of which it should be is kind of perplexing, really. I mean, would it really have taken much programming prowess to code in, like, press the R1... okay, maybe not necessarily the R1 button, because the game does technically have a strafe function, but... I don't know, like, press the R2 button to sort of lock onto targets? I don't know, I mean, I suppose you could make the argument that there are so many targets on screen that the game couldn't prioritize which one they wanted to target and which enemy that you'd rather target, but... I don't know, I mean, even games like Devil May Cry 2, for instance, which have a bit of a buggy lock-on, are at least capable enough of, having you siphon between your targets or, changing the targets to and fro, so... I don't know, I don't think it would have been asking too much of Traveler's Tales to include a lock-on feature, especially for the factor of making bosses easier to target, because, again, it's not too big of a problem with the first couple of bosses. Well, okay, a partial credit maybe to Gravitina since she does kind of hover, but we are going to be seeing a bit of a problem with the next boss fight that we're going to be encountering when we get to our next level. Trade World. But anyway, that's enough complaining for now. For the time being, though, let's talk about KARN, the level itself, which I guess is meant to be the dinosaur world of this thing, because... fulfilling tropes, because... wicked wild, it's a dinosaur ride! Woohoo! Discovery, kids, programming, whatever things, because kids love dinosaurs. As we collect robot parts, which I no doubt assume that in an episode, a dinosaur ate XR's body and spat him out, and... then they were like, oh no, we have to rescue him from the Wicked Wild and the Dinosaur Ride! But yeah, in terms of like the dinosaurs as enemies, I mean, again, they do charge towards Buzz Lightyear, but they don't seem to do too much more damage than like any other laser damage worth their salt, which, yeah, I mean, again, they are fast on their feet, but you can take them out fairly easily. Some guns are a little bit more bullet spongy towards them than others, but yeah, nothing too different to really say. I mean, we do also have those like little Zerg bug minion things that he has in the cutscenes, but yeah, they're pretty much weak sauce. In fact, I'm surprised they weren't some of the first enemies in the game, since they pretty much just putz around with like one shoulder cannon laser beam that's pretty much the same equivalent of those turrets, except even worse because they don't fire very fast, so why they weren't the first enemies in the game, I'm not too sure about. Oh well. All that aside though, like, I mean, KARN, decent looking level. And I mean, again, let me sing to Traveler's Tales' praises. In terms of how the game looks visually, again, the game is very vibrant, the art style looks very faithful to the television series. And again, in terms of adapting like a lot of the characters to PS1 graphics, it looks pretty good, all things considered. Like, I mean, even today, the cel shading that this game uses, or at least I believe it's cel shading, again, it makes the game look very vibrant and aged rather nicely compared to a lot of its contemporaries, with the only real graphical problems being some of the faces, which you might have already seen with, you know, the way in which Mira looks, because she has a very derpy looking smile, and in turn, the enemy of our next level is also going to sever that problem in terms of facial models, but apart from that, everyone else looks pretty decent, so no real complaints, really. Oh, we've saved XR again, although I suppose it does help that everybody's face tends to look more abstract and less human, which works better with the PS1 polygons.
Nebula here. We've got a scoundrel named Fixer that I need you to bring in for questioning, Lightyear.
Yeah, the Fixer. Yeah, he's gonna fix up a few rounds. He's gonna kill Daredevil's father. He's
gonna do the Holy Terror thing.
comic books.
Also, is that Ed Asner doing the voice there? I'm not too sure. Anyway, this is another level that we revisit.
Can we make some kind of arrangement?
The only arrangement that you need to worry about is finding a lawyer crazy enough to defend you.
Well, off we go then.
Jesus Christ, that guy's face is fucking abysmal. Yeah, as I was mentioning beforehand, like, I mean, the game, in terms of graphics and art style, does look pretty good, but ooh, Jesus Christ, the Fixer's face, yeah.
Speaking of fixing stuff, you better fix your face there, hombre.
But yeah, I mean, to kind of cut out the cynicism and snarky jokes for a second, Trade World is actually one of my favorite levels in the game. I mean, again, I'm always a bit of a sucker for urban city environments, and this does actually capture that whole... I mean, it does capture that whole sort of like Jetsons Futurama-looking city quite nicely, and there's a lot of nice artistry on display. Again, we got a decent sunset going on, again, which is always fucking beautiful to look at, even in Skybox PS1 glory. And in turn, like, I mean, the city just looks very vibrant. Again, you have pretty cool set pieces like this, where you pretty much ride the hoverbike across a little obstacle course so you can catch up to the Fixer, and again, it's a pretty snazzy level. Musical theme is pretty good, and sadly, no, you don't get to ride the hoverbike the whole way through, because even if you have some fuel left, it does cut you out after a certain point, so yeah, that's kind of sucky. But yeah, it's a pretty fun level all around. In fact, it actually kind of reminds me of one of the missions from Mega Man X7, where it takes place in a very similar sort of biome, where you're pretty much just riding around the city on the hoverbike, destroying bombs, funnily enough, so yeah, that's another weird similarity, although if anybody's actually played Mega Man X7, you'll know that this game does this whole thing a hell of a lot better, rather than just racing around, saving Reploids and doing whatever else. A part of that is because of how sort of dynamic the level is. I mean, again, you can pretty much jump on the hoverbike, go through buildings, jump all across the cityscape, and it makes for a pretty nice free-flowing level, which, again, like, I mean, I don't know, I mean, put it down to the series, or maybe just put it down to the developers wanting to utilize some of the concepts that they already have in the tapes of the episodes that they no doubt received. Yeah, it's a pretty cool level to run around in, and, you know, Traveler's Tales made the best use out of it. By the way, here's the boss from the first level. You probably didn't see it too much, but yeah, that was the boss from the first level who was just behind one of the fruit markets. Kind of odd, but whatever, we play with the cards we're dealt. Like, I mean, in fact, honestly, like, despite some of the pop-in, and yeah, that's the strafing ability that I was talking about earlier. Well, strafing, it kind of looks like Buzz is just doing the whole every day I'm shuffling, shuffling, shuffling. Oh! Yeah, seriously, look, I mean, again, it does help that a lot of characters like Booster or whatever, you know, are more abstract in nature, so again, they don't really clash graphically, but yeah. Pop-in. Even during the PS1 days, and even today, really, pop-in is still much more of a thing than it really should be, so... we still haven't learned about trading coherent aesthetics for graphical capabilities, and I suppose we won't ever truly will until we truly imagine, like, true-to-life graphics and realism up the yin-yang. And now it's time for the derpy smile. Seriously, maybe it's just because of the fact that they also curve the smile towards a more cartoony degree of her upper lip, which kind of throws me off a little bit, but yeah, Mirror and the Fixer. Two of the fuggliest faces in the PlayStation 1. But anyway, this is also where you're going to be coming into some issues, because the plasma gun that we have right here, yeah, you're going to have a hard time reaching the Fixer. It's only when he dips down that he is able to be hit, but the problem is that he has a hover chair, which, to be honest, I also kind of want one of those things so I can intimidate my overlings and threaten my underlings. Yeah, he has a tendency of pretty much just dipping up and down, and the enemies also have a habit of also skirting behind Buzz in order to avoid his fire, which, I mean, again, is smart from an enemy point of perspective, because, you know, you kind of want to avoid dying and being taken in by the Space Rangers or whatever, but at the same time, in terms of pure gameplay functionality, again, unless, of course, you have like an auto-tracking weapon like the lightning gun that we're using here, you're gonna find yourself completely whiffing your targets more often than not, and again, that just makes the gunplay feel a little bit more archaic than it should. I mean, he is dropping bombs every now and again, so there is still a bit of a threat, and the Fixer does have a laser weapon of his own, so again, there is that going for him, but there just isn't much strategy involved. It's pretty much just running around an arena like a chook with its head cut off, and just hoping that you can pretty much sneak in behind and make sure that your weapon hits the guy. Oh no. Ah, an explosive enemy that actually makes sense. Unless they're going for the whole Metal Gear Solid 3 explanation of, oh, they have micro bombs in their head or something, and then they explode because we can't recover the bodies or fucking whatever. Yeah, that's right, Buzz Lightyear. Well, fuck you and stop gloating, grr. I'm a military guy. Yeah, but anyway, that's pretty much it. And oh no! Yeah, this was actually a second take. Because, it's not that I died or anything, it's just that I missed all the LGMs on the first time around, so I figured I might as well get a better run through of the level and, give Trade World some proper justice, because, you know, pretty decent level, and, I enjoy it immensely. However, we are not done with this level just yet, because now we also have the time trial with Trade World 1. And, obviously with those sorts of naming schemas, yeah, they do actually reuse levels, so I suppose they probably didn't have a chance to adapt, like, every single planet in the TV series, although this game did come out in the year 2000, and, Buzz Lightyear Star Command, I believe, aired up until 2001, with at least I want to think it's a 65 episode count, you know, as was the standard for animated shows at the time, so yeah, I mean, there was, let me think here. I guess maybe it was either, you know, PS1 hardware limitations in terms of memory and space or whatever, or they just didn't have enough of the episodes in terms of what they had to work with to really adequately continue creating new levels with. Oh, well, I mean, I will say that, I mean, in terms of some of the levels that we do have in the game itself, again, it is a pretty decent bunch that we have, so, you know, nothing to really complain about. It's just that, it also kind of feels like you got the opportunity that they never really had a chance to name them, like, calling them Trade World 1 and then, of course, Trade World 2. You know, you couldn't have given, like, snazzy level titles like, I don't know, The Fixer's Dodgy Dealings, or, I don't know, like a Dracula-esque pun for Nosferatu. I don't know. I guess maybe for the first Joad level, since we're on a farm, it could be Weeding Out Corruption. I don't know, just something that's a little bit more creative. I don't know, maybe somebody could ask John Burton about all this stuff. Yeah, anyway, to talk about some of the weapons in terms of gameplay, because you might notice that I've mainly been sticking towards, you know, some of the auto-tracking weapons like the lightning gun or the, you know, basic-ass blaster pistol. Yeah, some weapons are more powerful than others, like, again, the plasma gun that you're using here. It also has a bit of a spreadshot kind of thing going about it. First of all, reused animation from Toy Story 2. Can you tell that these games ran on the same engine? But yeah, like, some weapons are a bit more powerful than others. Some a bit more obviously so, but others also sort of depend upon, you know, what particular weapon they are. First of all, there's the boss of the first level taken out very easily. But yeah, rapid fire weapons can take down enemies fairly quickly. The ice freezing gun that we had all the way back in Canis Lunis, yeah, they can take enemies out fairly quickly at the cost of a rapidly diminishing ammo quality. So on and so forth. One of the more useless weapons, in terms of anything else, I really find is the bomb weapon, but you won't be seeing that until the final boss, really, so stay tuned. But yeah, putting all this aside, because of the fact that I was wasting a bit of time, I barely make the end of this time trial, so yeah, I literally get there with 0 seconds on the clock. Because I get that clutch victory, baby. And on that note, I'm Solidus-Skully, keep it new metal, and next time on Buzz Lightyear of Star Command, well, I fail my Star Command entrance exams.